Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. With our first story today, this is a bit of surprising news. As I've talked about on here before, about the upcoming Steve Jobs biopic that's being penned by Aaron Sorkin, currently being directed by Danny Boyle. And up until this point, there's been kind of a, come in, attach themselves, and then leave the project kind of feel with most of the actors that have been signing up. So a lot of people have been wondering, what exactly is it about this project that keeps these actors from dropping off? Is the project too ambitious? Is it going to be too performance-based so that the movie will be made or broken based off of the performance of the character with really nothing else to be in there worthy of note? Well, there's been a lot of speculation as to what's causing all that. Now there's another wrinkle in everything, because Sony Pictures, the company that was actually spearheading this adaptation, or not adaptation, I should say, just spearheading this biopic, Sony Pictures has dropped the project. They no longer feel that they are the ones to properly develop this property to give it the best chance that it has. I don't think that's likely. There's not a lot of morals in Hollywood. Most likely what it was is that it just, people were butting heads too often. It was either the studio heads were coming back with too many notes, Aaron Sorkin wasn't willing to work on those notes. There's a whole bunch of kind of speculation that could be brought out about this. The one thing that hasn't really been brought up all that much, but I have seen it on some boards, and so I just wanted to bring that to your attention because this is one of the things that I feel could be a possibility. What if it's that Aaron Sorkin's script just sucks? Like, what if they're finding it so difficult to try to adapt this because it's just not that good? I mean, great writers out there have done terrible projects, and terrible writers have done good projects. So I think the one that I always keep bringing up, and I'll bring it up here again, because I think it's the most noteworthy. Akiva Goldsman, the writer of Batman and Robin, pretty much revered as one of the absolute worst films ever made. Like 3 years later, he wrote the script for A Beautiful Mind and ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. So a good writer can turn in a bad script, and a bad writer can turn in a good script. So we exactly don't know what has caused this project to be dropped off, or why Sony decided to give it up. But I mean, the good news is that Universal stepped in pretty much right away to snap up the rights. I don't know if the deal is finalized yet, but as it stands right now, the movie is still being directed by Danny Boyle. They are still using Aaron Sorkin's script. Aaron Sorkin actually just last week gave a little bit of an update on this property by saying that the heroine of the film would be Steve Jobs' daughter, Lisa. And that the script, I think he said something along the lines of, the script is about 180 pages or so. Steve Jobs is in about 100 of those. So he's in just over half the film. The rest of it is supposedly going to be told from his daughter's perspective, most likely, because the movie is kind of an odd one. It's set at 3 launching events, so 3 keynote speeches. The first one is for the original Mac, the next one is for the Apple Next, and then the final one is for the iPod. So I don't know if each one of these segments is going to delve in with Jobs going out on stage and having part of the speech be part of it, but everything kind of happening in the background. There's still a lot of secrecy surrounding this project. We just kind of know the bare bones structure of what this movie is going to entail. Aaron Sorkin also did come out and say that the character of Steve Jobs has more lines and more words to say than most actors do in 3 movies. So I don't know if that was just hyperbole or whatever the case may be. I mean, Aaron Sorkin is the type of guy who really thinks that he is the king of his own castle. And rightly so. I mean, the dude's very talented, absolutely. But having everything be checked in place, I mean, he's like, Chris Bale's our guy. And then a week later, he drops out. Okay, well, there's a little bit of skepticism there as to why he actually dropped out if you said, yeah, he's our guy. Not that he's the guy we're looking at. He's our guy. He's signed on. I don't think he actually used the term signed on, but he intimated that. So I really don't know exactly what has caused all of these events to go down. But as it stands right now, Universal is very likely to pick up the script and the rights to the Steve Jobs biopic. It's still untitled as of this point, but The movie is still going ahead. Danny Boyle is still attached. And as far as I'm aware, as to this point, they are still looking at getting Michael Fassbender in the role. He's still their current frontrunner. So that's all the information that we have up until this point. I'm starting to get a little nervous about this property, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, whether or not you think that there's cause for concern with this property, or if everything's just running smoothly and these are just things that always happen in most deals that we're just never really privy to, but this information is starting to come out. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think, but if we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. The Merman is back. We are getting, finally, we are getting Zoolander 2. Now, it hasn't been officially greenlit by the studio, but Penelope Cruz has just signed on to the film. Usually actors do not sign on to a film unless there is heavy traction involved. So, as it stands right now, Zoolander 2 is on its way in some form. As far as we are aware, the movie is going in for a table read very soon. The script is finished. At least this current draft that they have is finished. There is tangible, tactile material of Zoolander 2 in the universe, in the world. It exists. This movie is happening. This has been one of the sequels that has been talked about for so long and has never come to fruition. We are now finally getting it. This is a day to rejoice. This really is. I mean, looking at all the other properties that get sequels, some of them you ask why. Other ones, they make financial sense, but story-wise, there's no real way for, or nowhere for them to go. Zoolander, on the other hand, I mean, this new property, it's going to be, if the table read happens, I think in January is when it's expected to happen, either January or February. If that happens and everything goes well and they start getting the casting ready, they could start filming by next summer, which means they could have it out in 2016. And if it's out in 2016, it'll come 15 years after the original. Now, there's been a lot of questions as to why a movie like Zoolander didn't do as well as it did. And one of the largest contributing factors is the unfortunate timing of its release. It came out, I think, on September 20th or around there. It was the last third of the month of September in 2001. So it came out just shortly after the events of 9/11. And a lot of movies were, like, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, absolutely. Nobody around at that time was really interested, at least the vast majority of people were not really interested in going out and having a laugh or just trying to have, going out and having a good time. Everybody was in turmoil because of the sad events that happened on 9/11. So the movie only made like $60 million worldwide in the box office. And I mean, that more than doubled what it cost to make. It was only like $25 or $27 million budget, but it was the DVD sales. And that was at a time where DVD sales actually mattered. They don't really, I mean, they still can have an effect nowadays, but it's just not as large of one because you got to factor in DVD and Blu-ray sales, plus also on demand. You got to factor in digital downloads. I mean, all these different factors come in. And we now live in a digital age where everything is accessible via a click of a button. So the vast majority of people going out to the theaters is less and less. It's one of the reasons why ticket prices have been going up and why theaters have been having to come up with different options for people to go to, such as, Cinema 4D or, one thing that AMC Theaters does in the States, which is actually really cool. When I was down in LA, I got to go to the Burbank 16 and experience AMC Prime. And AMC Prime is really cool because there's seats that they fully recline. So you have these automatic recline. Legs can come right up, your seat can go right back. But they have subwoofers built right into the seats. And it's an incredible experience when you're watching a film because you really feel immersed in the movie. And then when you go to like D-Box movies, it's essentially that, but the chair actually moves and you get like little bits of mist and stuff like that that really add to the experience. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways that theaters have been trying to do that, but one of the reasons is because everybody wants to watch a movie at home. One of the reasons why it's been so hard to get sequels to some of the greatest movies that have ever made. I mean, not necessarily that those movies needed sequels, it's just those were the types of films that set up easily for a continuation of their story. Whether or not it's just seeing where the characters are at a certain other point in their life via Dumb and Dumber 2, or what happens to a male model. We already kind of shown what happened to a male model when he's already kind of peaked and he's hit his prime. What happens now 15 years later? That's what I think they're going to explore with this movie. And to me, it's just ripe for so many more jokes. I mean, we know that Ben Stiller, as it stands right now, he is in line to direct the film. It was originally going to be Justin Theroux, who he played the really weird looking dreadlocked DJ guy in the first one, and he co-wrote the movie with Ben Stiller, but he also wrote Tropic Thunder. He wrote Iron Man 2. He's currently starring in The Leftovers on HBO. So he was originally in line to direct. It was going to be his directorial debut. But because of The Leftovers getting picked up, he just does not have the time in order to direct the movie as well as be the lead in a television series. So it looks as though Ben Stiller is going to be directing the film. We still don't have concrete information on that. The only confirmed casting announcement has been Penelope Cruz, but Will Ferrell said a couple of months ago that his character Mugatu was in the script. He was going to be a part of the table read. So that right there means we've got Zoolander, we've got Hansel, played by Owen Wilson, we've got Mugatu, played by Will Ferrell, and we have the newcomer Penelope Cruz. Those are the only confirmed ones coming back, although I gotta say this right now, if Jerry Stiller doesn't come back, this movie will not be as good as the first. Jerry Stiller is absolutely hysterical, and if he doesn't come back, I will be really disappointed. But I will still go and see the movie. So as it stands right now, Zoolander 2 is on its way. We still don't have any confirmed details as to a release date or a shooting schedule or anything of that sort. It is only set up right now for a table read. So as long as that goes well, which I don't have any reason to suspect why it wouldn't, unless they're just now at the point where they're like, we just got to do a movie, here's just a script. I don't think that that's the case. I think they put too much work into this movie to get it to this point for them to really fail. I really don't see it being that big of a failure. So I'm excited for it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, whether or not you guys are excited for it, possibly even any story ideas that you guys have. Let me know in the comment section below. But if we do get more information about Zoolander 2, I will definitely update you guys on here. Summit Entertainment, the production company that's currently behind such movies as the Divergent series, is setting their sights very high for their upcoming Highlander reboot in terms of who they're trying to get. So as it stands right now, there is no talks. There is nothing. They've offered it to them. They've sent the script. They haven't heard anything back. This is what has come out. But they have offered the part of Ramirez, Sean Connery's role in Highlander, to Tom Cruise. Now, when I first heard this, I kind of went back and forth. At first, I went, yes, I like it. I think that's a great fit for the character because Tom Cruise is now at the point where he can be that mentor character. And I really feel that he can play kind of a... If they're going to do a remake of the movie, if they're readapting that movie and not just taking the core storyline and bringing it into the modern age, because there's a reboot and there's like a reimagining. And I think as far as I know they're doing a reboot. So... if we're getting Sean Connery's Ramirez character in the form of Tom Cruise, that has me a little worried because I can't see him dressing like this. I really can't. I think he just looks silly. I think he would look out of place. It would be like the rumor going around that Tom Cruise is going to be a Jedi or something like that in the new Star Wars movie because he was seen on set. I don't even think he's in the movie. And I hope he's not because he is the type of actor that will really take you out of the movie. He will really take you out of the movie. It was like... thinking back on it now, as much as I do like the surprise, I'm not going to ruin it, but there is a surprise addition to Interstellar, for those of you who have not seen it. And when I first saw it, I knew previously, I had known for a while that he was in the film. But I didn't know what character he was playing or anything of that sort. And then when he came on screen, you find out that he has this pretty substantial role. And the fact that they hid that, to me, it took me out of the film, because unless that had been an unknown actor or somebody relatively new, I don't think he would have been taken out as much. But because it was such a high-profile actor in that role, it took me out of it. So I don't want that to be the case here. What I would really like to see is them make a contemporary version of this movie. Basically a non-80s version, if you will. Because if anybody who's watched the original Highlander, and I love that movie. I just actually rewatched it on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. It has its problems, absolutely. It's an 80s film. Every 80s film has its problems. Even Die Hard. There, I said it. I love Die Hard, but it has its problems. It's an 80s film. I'm not saying Die Hard should be remade. Die Hard is one of those movies that should not be remade. Nope, don't remake it. Highlander, back to Highlander. There are a couple ways they could go about this. Because if, instead of making him Ramirez, have him still be the mentor character, but call him something different. And do not have them come from planet Xenoc or whatever the hell it was from Highlander 2. So yeah, keep them being the Immortals. Don't keep them being aliens. But maybe change it from Ramirez to something else that would suit Tom Cruise. Because, I mean, first off, Sean Connery is a Scottish guy playing a Spaniard. And that, I mean, it was just Sean Connery. That was one of the reasons. It was 80s. They didn't need to be as close as they needed to be just because of the time frame of the movie came out. But nowadays, I don't think you could get away with it that much. I think it would be shown off as silly. Doesn't really matter how it's handled in the film. It would come across as silly. So creating him and making him something unique, maybe even have him be something like a Roman, like a Roman warrior who has come about throughout the centuries. So I mean, that's a way that they could go about it. Call him something different. That could work. If they are going the Ramirez way, that to me is too tongue-in-cheek, and I think that could come across as a little silly. So I don't want it to be that way, but I am so happy that they are aiming their sights this high. I mean, I'm pretty sure every production does that. They're like, who can we get? Well, let's try to get Brad Pitt. Let's try to get Tom Cruise. Let's try to get Hugh Jackman. Whoever is one of the largest A-listers out there. Let's try to get George Clooney. Like whoever they can, and they'll say no, and then they'll go down their list. So that's most likely what's going to happen here. I don't think that Tom Cruise is actually going to pick this role. Which is a shame because I do think that he could do really well in it. The one thing right now, Ryan Reynolds was attached to this project for so long, and he dropped out within the last year, I think. It might have been a little bit longer, it might have been a little bit less, but he did drop out of the project. He was going to be playing the new version of Connor McLeod. As it stands right now, I would love to see Dan Stevens play Connor McLeod. I think he would be a knockout. Anybody who has not seen The Guest, you need to see The Guest. The Guest, to me, one of the most perfect double features out there right now. If you can get them, I know The Guest isn't available on video on demand yet, as far as I know. I drive all the way to Ottawa to go and see it. But The Guest and John Wick, those two movies back to back. Oh my God, it's heaven. It's just they're movies that they embrace what they are. They embrace their genre. They embrace their just insanity, and they just bathe in it. They just loathe. It's unbelievable. Just pure entertainment. Pure entertainment. So definitely check out The Guest if you haven't seen it. But Dan Stevens right now is my number one pick for the role of Connor McLeod. And having somebody like Tom Cruise training him and mentoring him, oh yeah, sign me up. I'm on board. So as it stands right now, there is no release date, there is no shooting schedule or anything of that sort. I'm forgetting the name of the director, but he is a first-time director. He's a special effects supervisor, and this will be his first feature-length film. That sometimes has me worried as well, especially when you're doing a reboot of something like this. That leads me to believe there's going to be a lot of kind of schlocky special effects. I'm not that into giving first-time directors big tentpole movies. I mean, I keep going back to it, but look at what happened with Wally Pfister in Transcendence. I mean, yes, he has studied under probably the best director in cinema right now, Christopher Nolan. He was his DP. But my God, was that movie bad. Like, it was so boring. There was nothing of note that happened in it. Everybody looked like they were asleep. Nobody looked like they were into their characters. They just kind of looked like, what's my line? Okay. Line back. Line back. Like, they all just looked so tired. Morgan Freeman looked like he was phoning it in. Johnny Depp looked like he literally was having a nap in between takes, and he just, okay, action. Like, everybody came across as that. And that just has me worried about a first-time director. Having a director come out on a smaller picture, really showing that they can handle story, they can handle structure, and they can handle character, then give them a larger film. That's what they've done with James Gunn, with the Russo brothers, with Josh Trank, Gareth Edwards, sorry. I mean, all the guys that are doing the Star Wars movies, a lot of the people that do Marvel films, they have done one, or Colin Trevorrow doing Jurassic World. I mean, all of these people do one or two small films, really showcase the fact that they understand character, they understand story beats, they understand how those things can be developed throughout the film, regardless of what else you have as, extra scenery or anything of that sort. And they're able to hit home with a very good subject or good character development or whatever the case may be. The studios see that, and then what they say is, Well, they don't need to have experience working in special effects. We'll give them the best visual effects supervisor in the business. You know, they don't need to worry about high-octane stunts. We'll give them the best stunt coordinator in the business, you know, to work with it and say, what do you want to see? Well, I'd love to see this. Okay, we'll make it happen, you know? That's what I want to see. And if this guy really does have the chops, then I'm all for it. But there's been so much turmoil with the Highlander reboot up until this point that I'm a little skeptical about the people behind the scenes. But so far, the people they've been getting in front of the scenes have been top-notch. I'm really on board with it. Again, Tom Cruise is just a rumor at this point. There is nothing official. Even his publicist came back and said, yeah, you know, he gets handed a lot of projects all the time. So, I mean, he's not really interested in this project as of yet. That's been officially announced. But if we do get more information about the Highlander update, I'll definitely update you guys on here. This last story here has been a project that I've been looking forward to for a while now. So, Guy Ritchie has been taking his time developing The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and a lot of people were wondering, is Sherlock Holmes 3 going to be his next film that he does after The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Well, it turns out it's not. Just scheduling conflicts and stuff like that with Jude Law, Robert Downey Jr., and Guy Ritchie have all caused that movie to just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. As far as I know, it is still coming, but as it stands right now, it is still being pushed. What they have pushed it out of the way for is a project that I love these types of movies when they're done right. And the cast so far that they have circling this film really has me excited. So, we are getting a new version of the King Arthur story. And originally it was just going to be called King Arthur, but then either it was the writer or it was the studio or a combination of the two, or maybe even it was Guy Ritchie's input. But the studio really felt that they had something really special on their hands, and they've decided to not stretch this out, but adapt or create a new King Arthur legend that will span 6 films. So they are currently starting a 6-film saga, as long as the first one is successful. I don't think that they're going to commence, you know, production on all 6 if the first one is a financial flop. So, but as it stands right now, it's going to be called Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur. That is the first movie. Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy, will be playing Arthur, and I cannot be happier about that. I love Charlie Hunnam. He is such a good actor. For those people out there who think that, oh, he's just a one-note guy because he was terrible in Pacific Rim, watch Green Street Hooligans. That movie is just fantastic. I love that movie. Him and Elijah Wood, and he actually plays with his native accent, which is something he rarely ever gets to do. And what you can see when somebody who is still an up-and-coming actor has to put on an accent, they're concentrating on that all the time. So their acting prowess is a little bit more removed. Once they get to a certain point in their career, once they get to that level of acting talent, then they're able to do that without having to worry about it. It's almost second nature to them. But one thing you can really tell with Charlie Hunnam is when he's putting on an accent, he is suffering his own acting ability a little bit. When you see him in Green Street Hooligans and you see him without having to put on an accent and just using his own native British accent, the dude kills it. I mean, he is a force. And he doesn't even look that big in the movie. But he is a force. I'm telling you, like, go out and watch it. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. I know the movie has divided some people, but I personally think that it was a star-making performance of Charlie Hunnam, and it is the reason why Kurt Sutter cast him in Sons of Anarchy. Actually, last night on the Schmoes Know podcast, they had Lexi Alexander, the director of Green Street Hooligans, on there, and she even mentioned that. So, I mean, you know, being able to have somebody like Charlie Hunnam, who is now coming to an end with Sons of Anarchy, and I'm so sad about that. There's only 2 more episodes left. But he'll be playing Arthur, and I think he's a really great choice for Arthur. Circling the villain lead is Jude Law. Jude Law right now is in talks to play the villain. We still don't know who the villain is going to be. But as it stands right now, Jude Law is the one who they are looking at. But more importantly, up until this point, Idris Elba was attached to the movie. He was going to be playing the Merlin-esque role. He wasn't going to be playing a character named Merlin. He was just going to be the mentor who maybe had supernatural capabilities. Well, it looks as though because of scheduling conflicts, Idris Elba has had to drop out. And that is a shame because, I mean, I really liked their camaraderie in Pacific Rim. Say what you will about the movie. The acting wasn't the biggest, concern about that movie. It was about watching giant robots fighting giant monsters. And I just think, I mean, Idris Elba is one of the best actors working in the business. Charlie Hunnam is a great up-and-coming actor, and I really did feel their mentor role in that movie. And I would have liked to have seen that, seen how they would have adapted that differently with a different director in Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur. Well, because he's dropped out, the search was on for a short time to find a replacement, and they found one in none other than Djimon Hounsou. So, for those of you who don't know Djimon Hounsou just played Korath in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's also been in such movies as Amistad, Gladiator, The Island. I'm drawing a blank as to a couple of the other ones, but he's just been... Blood Diamond. I mean, he was fantastic in Blood Diamond, playing off of Leonardo DiCaprio. So I'm ecstatic about this casting. I would have rather have seen Idris Elba, just because I think he has a more commanding presence on screen. But Djimon Hounsou, I think, will really do the role justice. I really do think that that is going to work out really well. I'm just curious to see how the 6-film saga plays out. Whether or not we're going to be introduced to certain characters right away, whether that be... Like, I know we're getting Guinevere. I can't remember the actress who played the mermaid in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides is playing the role of Guinevere. Lancelot is expected to be in this movie, but so far we don't have any casting announcements or even rumors about who would play him. But this movie is currently scheduled to be released July 22nd, 2016. So that most likely means that they're going to have to get filming underway by next summer at the latest. Because this is going to be a big, epic... just epic movie. It's going to be a huge scale film. And with Guy Ritchie directing, I'm curious to see what his viewpoint is going to be on this story. What he's going to bring that's new to it. Because I really liked his new twist on Sherlock Holmes. And seeing what he can really do. I mean, I think we're going to get a sense of what his directing prowess has expanded to when we get a taste of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which has just been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Because I think the movie was originally supposed to come out this October. And I think it got pushed to sometime next year. But... yeah, as it stands right now, I mean, the cast looks really good. You got Charlie Hunnam, Jude Law, now Djimon Hounsou. Guy Ritchie's directing it. This has the makings of a really standout film. I think this could really work. And plotting it in the prime July 2016 release area, that works. I mean, that just shows the company has a lot of confidence in this. And Warner Brothers, with the exception of the upcoming Seventh Son, Warner Brothers has shown that they have a real knack for making big, epic, sprawling films. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do with it. The movie so far, as I stated earlier, is scheduled for release July 22nd, 2016. If you guys have any comments or anything like that, definitely throw a comment in the comment section about this topic. Whether or not you think that these are the right actors, if you think that there is a specific story that they could tell that would be something that we haven't seen yet, whatever the case may be, toss your comment in the comment section. And yeah, we'll just definitely have a blast with that. But if we get any more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click the subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And you can also give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Movie News with Niklsun. If you guys ever have a topic or a question you'd like to have discussed on the show, go ahead and write a comment in the comment section or email us at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. And on every Friday episode, we'll try to get to as many as we can as long as there's enough room. Fortunately, today, with the amount of stories and as well as my other personal things that I need to take care of outside of the show, I was unable to answer any. But I will definitely try to make room for some on next week's episodes. So, without any further ado, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.